All right. ESBC's Women's Stable of Fighters is ambitious. It's ambitious because they will have the largest group of actual female boxers than any boxing game that came before it. The closest rival I could find was Knockout Kings, and that had 8 women available on PlayStation, but when the PlayStation 2 came out, they had less women available. I had an Xbox, and I was on that Rocky and Rocky Legends. I digress. Boxing fans know that the depth within the women's division hasn't been there, but it's growing and growing fast thanks to the outlets that are pushing the women in the sport. And by the way, it's long overdue for that to happen consistently. ESBC's women's roster is exciting, but with a few additions, it can be even better. Let me help you out, ESBC. So let's start by taking a look at who ESBC has in the game now and the division they compete in as of March 1st. I'll start from the lowest weight and work my way up. Seniesa Estrada, Salim Urbina, Ebony Bridges, Shannon Courtney, Heather Hardy, Sophie Alish, Jelena Marjanovic, Katie Taylor, Natasha Jonas, who just won a title at Super Welter, by the way, Terry Harper, Delphine Persoon, Chantel Cameron, Jessica McCaskill, Cecilia Bregus, Clarissa Shields, Alicia Napoleon, and Franchon Cruz DeZern. You may be wondering why I went through each fighter's name. Well, I did it because I'm a big proponent of the women in boxing. And if you have seen any of my other boxing videos, then you already have an idea of how much I am into them. And when I'm playing ESBC, I want to go against players that know what the heck they're doing and know how to use the fighters. So you have to start learning about these fighters. It starts with a name and a face. I don't need you fighting with Queen Jessica McCaskill and trying to box on the outside with her. If you do, I'm just going to pick Chantel Cameron or Cecilia Brekus and I'm whooping you, guaranteed. But moving on. So we are aware that there's 17 women boxers in the game. 18 women fighters total when you include Chris Cyborg, who's a featherweight in MMA. Those are the fighters that we know. It's critical we say that we know because ESBC stated there are fighters signed that haven't been released. Now these 18 fighters are going to represent 9 divisions. And these 9 divisions are minimum weight, flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, super lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, and super middleweight. So with all that said, you're probably wondering, all right, Mr. Ardor, what's the issue? Okay, so I'll start with my issue. And I'll start it by reiterating what we know. ESBC has the most actual women boxers represented in a boxing game ever. They're covering 9 divisions. And we know there's not much depth with the women. And I'll say, while that's all true, there are fighters out there that would be quality adds that could also benefit the game over time. The roster is appropriately top heavy, which should be great for notoriety. I get that to start out. As it stands, of the 19 fighters, 7 of them are in the ring's top 10 pound for pound rankings. When you dissect the roster though, you will notice there are 2 fighters that have 1 foot out the door to retirement in Heather Hardy, who's 40, and Jelena Marjanovic, who's 39. And I just wonder how much attention would fighters like Hardy and Marjanovic get in the game when it comes out. I think they will be used as sparring partners with fighters that players actually like, know, remember, or are still in the public eye. Let me take a step back. I understand Hardy a little more with her popularity and the connection to Gleason's gym, which I don't know if ESBC is planning Gleason's gym, maybe even being in the game. That could, who knows? But I do think additions like Hall of Famers, Lucia Riker, Layla Ali, and Christy Martin would be even better instead of having some lesser known outgoing names. I'm not saying I'm against Marjanovic. She was a great champion. Heather Hardy was a champion. She's also popular. So I see how they're in the game, but preference-wise, if you could get those names, in addition, you don't even have to, I'm not saying to remove them. I'm just pointing out that you have these older fighters that are in the game that are really on their way out. And by the time the game comes out, the people that pick up the game, I think there'll be less people that know who they are, and therefore they're not going to get played as often. I hope all that makes sense. I'm okay with them being in the game. But if you have Lucia Riker, Layla Ali, and Christy Martin, that's a Hall of Fame trio that will be dynamite in the game. And maybe ESBC will add these legends, or possibly they are already in the game and we don't know yet. I remember all that back and forth and that beef that Claressa Shields and Layla Ali had. And they were doing that a couple of years ago. And I thought that fight might happen. And then Layla Ali was saying, I want at least $5 million or something like that. I don't know. You guys can call it pricing yourself out or whatever, but you got to think. She hadn't been in the ring in a long time. And she's talking about just jumping back in with the quote. Might want to think about that. But I want to run that. That's the type of fight that I want to run in ESBC. I want to have Layla Ali and Claressa Shields. And you know, even as if it's a casual fan and they get in the game and they're just scrolling through all the women fighters and they see that name, Ali, they're going to be like, whoa. And then a quick Google search, you know, she's related. She's obviously a daughter of Muhammad Ali. So they're obviously going to play her. And they'll be like, okay, she is in this weight class. Who can I challenge her? Ooh, Claressa Shields. It's just another one of those matchups that even if you're a casual and you're in there and you're playing the game, you're still going to lean towards a Shields Ali match. Me, knowing the beef they had, I'll be playing it anyway. And then you have a nice fantasy matchup with Christy Martin against Jessica McCaskill at welterweight. It's just some fun matches that you can play out. Lucia Riker never got her shot at Christy Martin. I want to see Lucia Riker, Christy Martin. It's just so many matchups, y'all. In addition to the legends, I would like to see more active young talent on this roster. Terry Harper, who's 25, was a great get because she is young, and I still think she's going to do great things, even after getting beat by Alicia Baumgardner. Sophie Alish is 20, but she hasn't fought going on 2 years. The positive is she does have a fight going this month, although it hasn't been announced. Wasserman put out in their social media that she will be back this month. It's just not on BoxRec that I saw. I do hope they can add Olympic talent such as Lauren Price, who won a gold medal in the Tokyo 2020 Games, and she's turning pro. She is an absolute animal, y'all. And what about Karis Artingstall, Caroline Dubois? ESBC should get them in the game. Get some Olympians in the game. Recent Olympians. That could gin up interest as well. They should also include talented fighters like Alicia Baumgardner and Dina Thorsley, along with younger phenoms like Chloe Watson and Ellie Scottney. These names add value in different ways, and some touch different fan bases. I would be okay if they put popular fighters like Steffi Cohen in the game, because she's taking the sport seriously. And she is going to be a problem, y'all. Y'all keep an eye out for Steffi Cohen. Because if she keeps improving at the rate she is now, she's going to be trouble. Cohen has a powerlifting background, and that could help bring in some of her powerlifting audience. I'm sure some of them play games too. You just got to continue to think outside of the box while staying in it, if that makes sense. That way you keep the integrity of the game and the sport intact. Unfortunately, a couple that appear to have gotten away from ESBC are Michaela Mayer and Amanda Serrano. Mayer's in her early 30s, but she still has plenty of tread left and would have been a great addition. But it sounds like she won't be in the game. Serrano, while not young anymore, would have been awesome if she was in the game. But it appears she declined as well. Now, what I like about adding the legends and the young fighters is players could match some of the younger fighters against names they know or vice versa, which also helps the fighters themselves get some name recognition. It's about that name recognition. Next thing you know, the player sees a fighter on screen that they were fighting Claressa Shields with in ESBC, like I was mentioning Shields Ali earlier on. It's a domino effect that will help grow the sport amongst a younger generation and introduce them to the old heads like myself that don't know them. Although I try to stay up on the women's fight game, some of you may not. And one thing about the women, they do move up and down more than the men and appear to have quite a bit of success. Case in point, we just saw Natasha Jonas jump from fighting Katie Taylor at 135, went up to 154 and got a KO victory to get her first ever world title. Now, to put that in perspective, imagine Devin Haney, who just fought Jojo Diaz Jr. at lightweight, jumping up to challenge Jermell Charlo at 154 and getting a knockout. Sounds kind of crazy, right? Ultimately, what I would like to see is at least 3 fighters per division at launch. That's what I want to see. Because in these non-divisions, you're seeing one here, like especially Sinisa Estrada, there's nobody else in her division. How are they going to fill that out? So I want to see at least 3 fighters per division. So that would be about 27 women fighters. And ESBC might already be at 27 and just haven't announced it yet. And while the women do go up and down more than the men, I still want to see fighters fighting other fighters in their natural weight class. It's less questions to it whenever that occurs. So that's why I at least want 3 fighters in each division that is represented within ESBC, which is 9. Because Chantel Cameron is in the same boat. You know, she needs a Kaylee Reese because she's going to be fighting her for undisputed maybe in the summertime. But we don't know if Kaylee Reese is in the game. And there's really nobody else that's super lightweight. So you're going to have to be fighting Katie Taylor, or she'll have to fight or go up and fight McCaskill. But there needs to be other fighters at the weight that the fighter can go against. But we'll see what ESBC has in store. I'm sure they have some things planned. I just want to hear it. I want to hear how they're going to lay everything out. How many women do they plan on having per division? I haven't seen them state anything about that. I mean, do they even have a goal? And if any of you know, please let me know, because I want to know. I'm really into the women's side. Also in the men's, I just love boxing, period. But that's all I got for this one. Looking forward to the next female fighter drops that occur, and any news really concerning ESBC. Thanks for watching, y'all. Until next time, I'm out.